Picture this. You're sitting in a board meeting and someone asks, "So what's our AI governance policy?" And you freeze. Because half your team is using ChatGPT to write emails, your AP clerk is using some AI tool to process invoices, and honestly, you have no idea if any of it is secure, compliant, or even accurate. Sound familiar? You're not alone. According to a recent Gartner study, 78% of CFOs are investing in AI, but only 47% believe their teams are actually equipped to use it responsibly. That's a massive gap. And in 2026, that gap is becoming a liability. Today, I've got Dr. Rachel Chen with me. She's a CFO who's built AI governance frameworks at 3 different companies and lived to tell the tale. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Gary. Happy to be here. And yeah, lived to tell the tale that's actually pretty accurate.
Well, let's dive into that story. Because I think a lot of people listening right now are in that board meeting moment I just described. What was your wake-up call?
Okay, so this was about 18 months ago. I was CFO at a mid-market SaaS company, about $30 million in revenue, and we were going through our annual audit. And our audit partner pulls me aside and says, "Hey, I noticed your team is using some AI tools. Can you walk me through your governance framework?" And I'm sitting there thinking, governance framework? We don't have a governance framework. We have vibes. Like, don't do anything stupid vibes.
That's most companies right now, honestly.
Right? But here's the thing. The auditor wasn't joking. He said, if you're using AI to process financial data, categorize transactions, or make decisions that impact your financials, we need to see controls. We need to see documentation. We need to understand the risk. And in that moment, I realized we had a huge problem because we were using AI. Our AP team was using some invoice automation tool. Our FP&A analyst was using AI to write variance commentary. Our controller was using ChatGPT to draft board reports. And none of it was documented. None of it was approved. And honestly, Gary, I had no idea if the outputs were even accurate.
That's a scary realization. Especially when you're mid-audit.
It was terrifying. Because suddenly I'm thinking, what if this AI tool hallucinated a number? What if it miscategorized a transaction? What if we file financials based on AI output that's just wrong? And that was my wake-up call. That was the moment I realized AI isn't just a productivity tool. It's a risk tool. And if we don't govern it properly, it's going to bite us.
And I think that's where a lot of controllers and CFOs are right now. They know AI is being used. They know it's probably helpful. But they have no framework for managing the risk. And if you're listening right now and thinking, "Oh God, that's me," you're not alone. This is happening at companies everywhere. Small, mid-market, even some public companies are still figuring this out. So Rachel, after that audit, what did you do?
Okay, so first, I panicked a little, but then I got to work. I spent about 3 months researching AI governance frameworks, looked at NIST, looked at what the Big Four were recommending, talked to other CFOs. And what I learned is that most frameworks are way too complicated for mid-market companies. Like, they're designed for Fortune 500 companies with dedicated AI ethics committees and compliance teams. We didn't have that. We needed something simple, practical, and fast. So I built what I call the 3-layer framework. And it's basically this. Layer 1 is strategy. This is the why and the what. Why are we using AI? What are we trying to accomplish? And critically, what is off limits?
Okay, so give me an example of off limits.
Sure. So for us, we decided that AI cannot make final decisions on financial close. It can suggest, it can flag anomalies, it can draft reports. But a human has to review and approve before anything goes into our financials. We also said, no AI tools that we can't audit. Meaning, if the tool is a black box and we can't see how it made a decision, we don't use it.
That's smart. So that's layer 1, strategy. What's layer 2?
Layer 2 is process. This is the how. How do we approve new AI tools? How do we validate outputs? How do we handle errors? So for example, we created a simple approval process. If someone wants to use a new AI tool, they fill out a one-page form. It asks things like, what does this tool do? Does it touch financial data? Who's the vendor? What's the security model? And then we have a quick review, usually takes 15 minutes. And we either approve it with conditions, or say no.
So you're not saying no AI, you're saying yes, but with guardrails.
Exactly. And then layer 3 is technology. This is the actual tools, the security, the data access. So we use a simple risk matrix. We categorize every AI tool as low risk, medium risk, or high risk. Low risk is stuff like AI writing email subject lines, AI suggesting meeting times. Whatever, go ahead, use it. Medium risk is things that touch data but don't make decisions, like AI that summarizes customer feedback or drafts internal memos. We want to track it, but we're not super worried. High risk? That's anything that processes financial data, makes recommendations that impact financials, or touches customer PII. Those tools get extra scrutiny.
Okay, so you've got strategy, process, technology. And you use a risk matrix to categorize tools. How do you actually implement this? Because I think for a lot of folks listening, the framework makes sense in theory. But the question is, where do I even start?
Yeah, and that's the key, right? You can have the best framework in the world, but if you can't implement it, it's useless. So here's what I did, and here's what I'd recommend. Think of it as a 30, 60, 90-day roadmap. Days 1 through 30, this is your inventory and risk assessment phase. Your job in month 1 is to figure out what AI tools are we already using. And I'm not just talking about the official tools IT approved. I'm talking about the random Chrome extensions, the ChatGPT accounts, the free trial tools someone signed up for. So you send out a survey. You ask every team, what AI tools are you using? For what? How often? And you map everything out. Then you run each tool through your risk matrix. Is it low, medium, or high risk? And you create a simple spreadsheet. Tool name, risk level, owner, status.
And how long does that actually take, like in practice?
For us, it took about 2 weeks to collect the data, and another week to categorize everything. So call it 3 weeks, and you've got a full AI inventory. Then, days 31 through 60. This is your policy creation and training phase. Now that you know what you're working with, you write the policies. And I'm not talking about a 50-page document. I'm talking about a simple, readable AI usage policy. 2 to 3 pages max. It covers things like what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's the approval process, what do you do if something goes wrong? And then you train your team. You do a 30-minute lunch and learn. You walk through the policy. You answer questions. You make it real.
And I'm guessing that's where you get some pushback, right? People saying this is bureaucracy, you're slowing us down.
Oh, 100%. I had one person tell me, you're killing innovation. And I said, no, I'm preventing us from getting sued. But here's the thing, Gary. You have to frame it right. It's not about saying no to AI. It's about saying yes responsibly. It's about making sure that when we use AI, we can defend it, we can audit it, we can trust it. And once people understand that, the pushback goes away.
Okay, so days 1 to 30, inventory and risk assessment. Days 31 to 60, policy and training. What about days 61 to 90?
Days 61 through 90. This is your documentation and audit prep phase. This is where you create the artifacts that your auditor, your board, and your executive team need to see. So you create an AI governance policy document. That's your master policy. A tool inventory log, updated quarterly. Approval records. Who approved what, when, why. Incident logs. If something went wrong, how did we handle it? Training records. Who got trained? When? And you put it all in one place. We use a shared folder. Some companies use a governance platform. Doesn't matter. Just make sure it's organized and accessible.
So by day 90, you've got a full AI governance framework in place. Policy, process, documentation, the whole thing.
Exactly. And here's the best part. It's not some abstract corporate policy that sits on a shelf. It's a living system. Every quarter, we update the tool inventory. Every time someone wants to use a new AI tool, we run it through the approval process. Every time something goes wrong, we document it and learn from it. It becomes part of how we operate.
I love that. And I think what's powerful about this is it's not pie in the sky. It's like, here's exactly what to do in what order over 90 days. And if you're listening and thinking, okay, but what about the board? What about audit? That's exactly what we're going to talk about next. So Rachel, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The board meeting. What questions are they going to ask and how do you answer them?
Great question. So here's what I've learned after doing this at 3 companies. Boards are going to ask 5 core questions about AI governance. Question 1. What AI tools are we using and what do they do? And you need to be able to answer that confidently. That's why the inventory is so important. You show them the spreadsheet. You say, here are the 12 AI tools we're using. Here's what each one does. Here's the risk level. Question 2. How do we know the AI outputs are accurate? And this is where you talk about validation. You explain, we have a human-in-the-loop process. Every AI output gets reviewed before it's used in a decision. We spot-check outputs monthly. We document errors and adjust accordingly.
And have you had errors? Like, has an AI tool actually given you bad data?
Oh, absolutely. We had an AI tool that was categorizing expenses, and it kept putting software subscriptions under office supplies. Small mistake, but it threw off our budget variance reports. The good news is, we caught it because we had a review process. We documented it, we fixed it, and we adjusted our validation checklist. Which brings me to question 3. What happens when something goes wrong? And this is where your incident log comes in. You show the board, here's our process. When we detect an error, we log it. We assess the impact, we fix it. And we update our controls so it doesn't happen again.
So you're basically saying we expect errors, we have a system for handling them.
Exactly. Because here's the reality, Gary. AI is going to make mistakes. It's not perfect. But if you have a system for catching and correcting mistakes, you're still way better off than if you had no system at all. Question 4. How do we handle data security and privacy? And this is huge, especially if you're in a regulated industry. You need to be able to say, we vet every AI vendor for SOC 2 compliance. We limit data access. We don't put PII into public AI tools. We have data agreements in place. And question 5, this is the big one. Are we compliant with AI regulations? Now, in the US, there aren't a ton of AI-specific regulations yet. But that's changing fast. The EU has the AI Act. California has some AI disclosure laws. And more are coming. So you need to be able to say, we're monitoring regulatory changes. We're building our framework to be flexible. And we're working with our legal team to stay ahead of compliance.
Okay, so those are the 5 board questions. What about the auditor? What do they need to see?
So auditors care about 3 things: controls, documentation, and audit trails. Controls. They want to know, how do you approve AI tools? How do you validate outputs? How do you prevent unauthorized use? So you show them your approval process. You show them your validation checklists. You show them your access controls. Documentation. They want to see it in writing. policy documents, training records, approval logs, incident reports. So you literally hand them a folder, physical or digital, and say, here's everything. Audit trails. They want to see that you can trace decisions back to their source. So if an AI tool categorized a transaction, can you show why it categorized it that way? Can you show who reviewed it? Can you show when it was approved? And if you've built your framework the way we just described, the answer is yes.
So basically, if you follow the 30, 60, 90-day roadmap, you're not just building a framework for your team, you're building exactly what the board and auditors need to see.
Exactly. It's the same system. It's just a matter of how you present it.
All right, so we've talked about the framework, the roadmap, the board, the auditors. But let's get real for a second. What are the obstacles people are going to hit?
Oh man, where do I start? Okay, obstacle number 1, executive buy-in. A lot of CFOs and controllers think they can just build this quietly and roll it out. And then they get pushback from the CEO or the COO who says, why are we slowing down innovation? So my advice is, sell it as risk management, not bureaucracy. Go to your CEO and say, we're using AI tools without any governance. That's a liability. If something goes wrong, we could have a PR crisis, a regulatory issue, or worse, a material misstatement in our financials. Frame it as protecting the company. Frame it as enabling innovation responsibly. Most CEOs get that.
That's smart. What's obstacle 2?
Obstacle 2, lack of technical expertise. A lot of finance teams don't have deep AI or data science knowledge, so they feel intimidated. They think, I don't even understand how this works. How am I supposed to govern it? And here's what I tell people. You don't need to be an AI engineer to govern AI. You just need to ask good questions. Can you explain how the AI makes decisions? Can you show me examples of its outputs? Can you tell me what happens if it makes a mistake? If the vendor can't answer those questions in plain English, that's a red flag. Don't use that tool.
I love that. If you can't explain it to me, I'm not buying it.
Exactly. Obstacle 3, keeping up with change. AI is moving fast. New tools are launching every week. Regulations are changing. Best practices are evolving. So you have to build a framework that's flexible. Don't try to create a perfect static policy. Create a process that can adapt. For us, that means we review our AI governance framework quarterly. We update the tool inventory. We adjust policies based on what we've learned. It's a living system.
I love that approach. All right, so for folks listening who are thinking, okay, I'm sold, I need to do this. But they're also thinking, I'm overwhelmed. I don't have 90 days to build this right now. What are 3 things they can do this week? Like, what are the quick wins?
Great question. Here are your 3 quick wins. Quick win 1, do the inventory. Send an email to your team today. Subject line, AI Tools Survey. Ask, what AI tools are you using? What do you use them for? Give people 48 hours to respond. Then put it in a spreadsheet. That's your starting point. It'll take you 2 hours max. Quick win 2, create a simple approval process. Draft a 1-page form. Questions, what's the tool? What does it do? Does it touch financial data? Who's the vendor? Send it to your team and say, from now on, before you use a new AI tool, fill this out and send it to me. Boom, you just created accountability. Quick win 3, have the conversation with your exec team. Book 30 minutes with your CEO or your CFO. Say, we need to talk about AI governance. Here's why it matters. Here's what I'm proposing. Get their buy-in now, because everything else will be easier if you have executive support.
Those are great. And honestly, those 3 things inventory, approval process, executive buy-in, those are probably 70% of the battle.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Once you do those 3 things, the rest gets easier. Because now you have visibility, you have a process, you have support, and you can build from there.
I love it. All right, before we wrap up, give me the before and after. What did things look like before you implemented this framework, and what do they look like now?
Okay, so before, we had no idea what AI tools people were using. We had no approval process, no validation, no documentation. And honestly, we were one bad AI output away from a material issue. After, we have full visibility. We know exactly what tools are in use. We have a clear approval process. Takes 15 minutes to review a new tool. We have validation checklists. We have incident logs. We have training records. And most importantly, we have confidence. When our auditor asks about AI governance, I can hand them a folder and say, here's everything. When the board asks about risk, I can walk them through our framework. And when my team wants to use a new AI tool, they know the process. They know what's allowed. And they know we're supporting innovation, not killing it.
That's powerful. And I think that's the message, right? This isn't about being anti-AI. It's about being smart about AI. And if you're listening right now and feeling overwhelmed, that's normal. This is new territory for everyone. But the good news is, you don't have to do it all at once. Start with the inventory. Start with the approval process. Start with the conversation. And build from there. Rachel, this has been incredibly valuable. Thank you for sharing all of this.
Thank you, Gary. This was fun.
All right, so for everyone listening, if you want to implement an AI accountability framework at your company, start with those 3 quick wins Rachel mentioned. Do the inventory, create the approval form, have the executive conversation. And if you want help building out the full 30, 60, 90-day roadmap, reach out to us at the Ledger Labs. We help CFOs and controllers implement exactly these kinds of frameworks. You can find us at theledgerlabs.com. And hey, if you found this episode useful, do me a favor, share it with another CFO or controller who's trying to figure out this AI governance thing. Let's help each other get ahead of this. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.